our daily morning readings of Hafez's poetry, and we make lots of progress, and we read some every day. Hafez says, don't be timid about your reading my poetry. Actually, he says, love is the nobler task up then, Hafez, and seek it while you may, for lovers will not let the timid amble beside them on love's way. So it's not for the timid listeners, it's only anyways, we continue page 74.
Read that end again.
Read that again. This is the end of the poem from yesterday. We read on April 7th. Love is the nobler task up then, Hafez, and seek it while you may. For lovers will not let the timid amble beside them on love's way. He's saying, get up. Lovers will not let the timid amble beside them on love's way. It means like linger around, like it means like stagger around on the way. It doesn't like the timid.
The timid
amble. To amble is to stagger around or to just lounge around. Unassertive. Should be assertive in your reading of Hafez. Amble beside them on love's way. So that means it says, get up and make coffee. H girl. Get up, H girl, and make coffee and listen aggressively to Hafez's poetry. The one who gave your lovely face its rosy red and white can give me peace and patience to endure my wretched plight. The one who taught your curls their airy arrogance can give me justice to redress the hopeless grief in which I live. Oh, I despaired of Farhad when his hand assigned the rein of his bewildered heart to Sharin's lips and her disdain. If treasures of gold are lacking, well, contentment's beckoned. The one who gives the first to kings sees beggars receive the second. The world displays herself to us as such a charming bride, but life's the dowry that men pay to lie at her sweet side. For now on, it's the cypress and the clear stream's banks for me, especially now spring's promise scents the breeze incessantly. It's springtime, justice I cry, and since Kavam al-Din we've had to part. This age's grief your absent face usurp, Hafez's heart. Nice. It's springtime. Spring promise of a pen that doesn't work, a pencil. Of many pencils that don't work. We have, we're reading in the spring of April 8, which is Buddha's birthday. Buddha. How do we remember Buddha on his birthday? Are we going to read some Buddhism? Maybe we will. I like this poem. Let me try to read it again. The one who gave your lovely face its rosy red and white can give me peace and patience to endure my wretched plight. The one who taught your curls their airy arrogance can give me justice to redress the hopeless grief in which I live. Oh, I despaired of Farhad when his hand assigned the rein of his bewildered heart to Sharin's lips and her disdain. If treasures of gold are lacking, well, contentment's beckoned. The one who gives the first to kings sees beggars receive the second. The world displays herself to us as such a charming bride. But life's the dowry that men pay to lie at her sweet side. From now on, it's the cypress in the clear banks, streams, banks for me, especially now. Spring's promise scents the breeze incessantly. Spring. It is spring. Justice I cry, and since Kwa Kavam Maldin, we've had to part. This age is grief, your absent face usurped Hafez's heart. Not sure what it all means. Do you know what it means? We can get it through our unconscious mind. After the 10th reading, we'll understand it. You could just re-listen to it, I guess. All right. Here's the Persian poetry to Hafez. May I remember always when your glance in secrecy met mine. And he does talk about the mystical glance, I guess. And in my face your love was like a visibly reflected sign. Yeah, see, he's reflecting the love coming from his glance. May I remember always when your glance in secrecy met mine, and in my face your love was like a visibly reflected sign. That's a nice one. May I remember always when your chiding eyes were like my death, and your sweet lips restored my life like Jesus' reviving breath. May I remember always when we drank our wine as darkness died, my friend and I alone at dawn, though God was there too at our side. May I remember always when your face was pleasure's flame, and my poor fluttering heart was like a moth that singed and is about to die. There's the moth again. The moth and the flame. Remember the flame and the moth and the flame? May I remember always when your face was pleasure's flame, and my poor fluttering heart was like a moth that singed and is about to die. May I remember always when the company that we were in was so polite, and when it seemed only the wine would wink and grin. That is so cute. You know, the wine is bubbling in the cup. He always said the wine was bubbling in the cup. May I remember always when the company that we were in was so polite, and when it seemed only the wine would wink and grin. That's also a cute verse. Very pretty. May I remember always when our goblet laughed with crimson wine. What tales passed back and forth between your ruby lips, my dear, and mine. May I remember always when I was a canopy unfurled that shaded you, and you were like the new moon riding through the world. May I remember always when I sat and drank in wine shops where what I couldn't find in mosques today accompanied the drinkers there. May I remember always when the jewels of verse Hafez selected were set out properly by you, arranged in order and corrected. That's, there's a line, what's the line when Rumi says, when Shams Tabriz sits on the throne, my verses line up like willing slaves. And Hafez says, may I remember always when the verses of jewels of verse Hafez selected were set out properly by you, arranged in order and corrected.
Now that you're reading this, I see how much Rumi got from Hafez.
Well, we don't know who comes first. But anyways, I'm quoting Rumi says, when Shamas Tabriz sits on the throne, my verses line up like willing slaves. I like that quote. And now this one is correlated. May I remember always when the jewels of verse Hafez selected were set out properly by you, arranged in order and corrected. It says, when Shams sits on
His
the
poetry,
throne,
it seems like his poetic dance.
my
You see, like you
verses
contemplate a dance when you hear his voice.
line up
Beautiful.
like willing slaves. His verses line up like willing slaves. Rumi. Don't you like Sufi poetry now?
I'm telling you, it's like a dance. It's like dancing his poetry.
What did I read something about dance today? Oh God, it's my own poetry, I think. All right, we finished up to page. We read 2 poems of Hafez to page 77. We started at page 74. Happy Birthday, Buddha, which we probably have to read birthday, something for Buddha now.